In an unexpected and emotionally charged moment, Jungkook finally admitted something that had long been just a faint whisper among fans. It was Taehyung who quietly supported him during the most confusing times in his solo career. This confession was not only surprising because of its sudden timing, but also because Jungkook has always appeared highly independent and rarely depicted any emotional dependence on his fellow members, especially since they began pursuing individual career paths. Thus, an unavoidable question arises. How significant has Taehyung's role been in Jungkook's seemingly bold but pressure-filled journey? Jungkook's statement, which is not made in an official forum but through an open and personal conversation during a live broadcast, sounded very straightforward yet carried deep emotional layers. He mentioned Taehyung's name with a different tone, not merely referring to a friend or group mate, but someone who had quietly become his emotional anchor. He openly expressed gratitude for the support that was never flaunted and admitted that Taehyung's previous warnings and advice turned out to be true and meant a lot to him. For fans who have long witnessed their interactions, this statement marks an emotional turning point that cannot be underestimated. Until now, the dynamic between Jungkook and Taehyung has often been clouded by assumptions. Were they growing distant? Was there tension? Or were they simply hiding their closeness from public view? Jungkook answered all that speculation with one simple sentence. He never left. Even when I felt alone, he was still there. This line instantly triggered an emotional response from the global fan community who had been trying to understand the cracks and silence surrounding member relationships since BTS entered its individual phase. Interestingly, Taehyung himself never openly claimed this role. He never responded to speculation, never posted anything with an explicitly supportive tone, and instead chose the quiet route. But now, the narrative built from Jungkook's confession opens a new chapter. That there was a silent role strengthening him from behind the scenes. Taehyung's demeanor, known to be firm, yet reflective and artistic, formed a combination that was almost invisible, yet deeply touching. A crucial question arises from this confession. Did Taehyung's influence directly contribute to the major shifts in Jungkook's career decisions? We know that Jungkook has recently made choices reflecting full autonomy, collaborating with international artists, broadcasting without typical production guidance, even expressing himself artistically without the usual agency constraints. At this point, we see that Taehyung's support was likely a personal catalyst, not a professional one, that significantly influenced Jungkook's courage to truly go solo. However, what makes this statement even stronger is not just the content of his words, but the timing and context. Jungkook was not under pressure, not under intense public scrutiny, or in the middle of a major promotional moment. He chose to speak when there was no obligation to do so. And in the South Korean entertainment world, personal confessions without promotional momentum are extremely rare and therefore more honest. The fact that Jungkook felt the need to express that gratitude now suggests that he has passed an important phase. He seems to want to dismiss the assumption that he's entirely alone and to affirm that his creative and emotional process is not detached from the presence of unseen people. In this case, Taehyung, the fan response has been mixed, but largely positive. Many see this as a long-awaited emotional reconciliation and a sign that member relationships remain intact even, if not always visible. Some have even called this confession Jungkook's most human moment in recent years, as it reveals a vulnerable and connected side long hidden behind the global superstar persona. Of course, many questions remain unanswered. Will this confession be followed by a new collaboration? Are they planning something together? Or is this merely an emotional closure reflecting their maturity as fellow artists? All possibilities are now open, and fans will keep watching for every hint or next step. But one thing is now clear. Jungkook does not walk this journey alone. And Taehyung's name will remain, not just as a part of BTS's past, but as an individual who dared to support from behind the scenes, without asking, without recognition, but with undeniable impact. To the public, this is proof that the strength of a relationship doesn't have to be shouted loudly. Sometimes, a single honest sentence can change the world's perception. Yet behind the warmth of Jungkook's seemingly sincere and emotional confession, one big question emerges that can't be ignored by the observant public. Is this truly real? Or is this merely a strategically built narrative aimed at shaping a certain image amid declining public trust in the agency and its idols? It's undeniable that South Korea's entertainment world has long been fertile ground for complex and strategic narrative constructions. When Jungkook openly mentioned Taehyung's role as a silent supporter during hard times, the public split into two camps. One side received and welcomed it as a rare moment of honesty. The other side questioned, why now? What triggered this confession? And why was it delivered in a format that appears natural but is still widely distributed? In this digital era, where virality can outweigh credibility, we must dare to ask deeper. Is this merely a personal expression, or part of a media construction aimed at regaining public sympathy? Especially considering that most of the information spreading about this came from TikTok clips, unofficial YouTube recordings, and speculation on Twitter and various online forums, not from verifiable official channels. So, how strong is the foundation of truth behind this confession? It's important to underline that the relationship between two figures as big as Taehyung and Jungkook cannot be separated from market expectations. The fact that they are two of the most influential global K-pop icons makes every interaction between them, real or implied, a highly commodifiable material. So, when an emotional confession surfaces, the public must begin to ask, is this from the heart, or from a script carefully crafted to deliver a shock effect amid the industry's turbulence? More than that, we must also observe how social media plays a massive role in shaping public perception of this issue. Many content creators repeatedly analyzed Jungkook's video, adding dramatic narratives and linking it to various conspiracy theories, from HYB's involvement, internal pressure, to suspected emotional manipulation for sales and engagement purposes. Then comes the next question: are the emotions we see truly real, or emotions that are manipulated? At this point, we invite you, smart and critical viewers, to reflect again. Do you truly believe that Taehyung has been secretly supporting Jungkook all this time without a single clear digital trace? Or do you see this as a narrative scenario slowly planted to shape certain public perceptions? Skepticism does not mean rejecting all information, but is a cautious stance that must be held amid the flood of unverifiable data. We must scrutinize how narratives are formed, who benefits, and why this moment was chosen. Was it truly the right time, or is this moment strategically beneficial for certain parties? As consumers of information, we have a responsibility not to blindly accept everything we see and hear, especially if the source relies on engagement algorithms, not truth. So, when witnessing emotional interactions between two idols like this, it's important to ask, is this a personal story that happened to leak into the public? Or is this part of a strategy far larger and more complex than we can see on the surface? We must also recognize that in many cases, emotions in the entertainment industry do not always appear spontaneously. Even a tear can be an instrument in shaping opinions. Therefore, it is perfectly reasonable for some of the public to appreciate Jungkook's honesty, but also equally reasonable for others to wait for more evidence before fully believing. There's nothing wrong with sympathizing, but more importantly, there's nothing wrong with questioning and doubting. Are we witnessing a relationship that has genuinely grown organically? Or is this a new chapter of a campaign carefully crafted, not to entertain, but to shape opinions and maintain existence? By considering the context, timing, source of information, and potential gains behind this narrative, let's reflect together. Are you witnessing a pure reality, or just a reflection of a narrative packaged to appear pure? Do you truly recognize the truth, or only feel like you do because the information is constantly repeated? We don't force you to believe or fully reject this information. We simply invite you to stay critical and examine every piece of information that comes your way with full awareness. Because in a world where the line between reality and manipulation grows ever more blurred, the ability to question is our last form of protection, and in the end, the decision is yours. Do you see this as a sincere expression between two friends, or merely a narrative strategy that touches emotions but hides a deeper agenda? Please leave your opinion in the comments. We're waiting for your perspective, whether you believe, doubt, or are still trying to understand.